What is up, Fence fam? Let me kill that music real quick. Didn't do a good job of that. There we go. What is up, everybody? So glad to see you virtually, as it were. We've got a new face with us today. We've got Bo Butler here. Bo, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm incredibly well. I appreciate you guys. You guys made a heck of a journey to get here.
We did. It was quite the trip. Took about 4 hours longer than it should have
Yep.
been.
Well, it's something you won't forget,
Yeah.
right? So, Bo, tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you do.
Yep. My name is Bo Butler. I run Front Range Fence Company right in Castle Rock, Colorado. It's a local company. I started about 6 years ago now.
Okay, 6 years in. So, what type of fence would you guys prefer to do?
We like standard residential
Okay.
privacy fence, stuff like that, but we really started getting a lot more custom work, a lot more welding,
Gotcha.
custom fabricating, just kind of expanding our skill
Okay.
sets.
Okay. Yeah, just kind of stretching yourselves a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. Well, Bo, why don't we tell everybody why are you here? What are you doing here on the show?
So I actually brought my whole team with us this weekend. I closed down the company, brought 7 guys up here, so that everybody could feel the experience, feel the vibes, the culture, and really show them better than I can explain where I want us to go in the future.
As soon as you had asked me during the initial interview if you could bring team members, the answer is absolutely yes. I love this idea so much because you're right. You can come back and kind of explain to them what went on and how it happened.
Yeah.
But for them to be here and see it and touch and feel it probably makes it more impactful.
Absolutely.
So Bo actually was a winner of our Spend a Day with the Expert contest, I guess you'd call it, that we run from last quarter. And we're actually, if you're watching this now, it is open. We're opening up the next quarter's Spend a Day with the Expert contest. So if you're watching this and you'd like to come out spend the day with me and the team, it is open, and we've got the competition is open. Is that link up, Brandon? Link up for the contest, Spend a Day with the Expert?
It should be, I think.
Should be up. All right. So, guys, let us know you're here by dropping a comment and dropping a comment below. What is going on today? It's about 1,000,000 degrees outside, and I guess my brain's a little bit scrambled. We've had a busy day.
Yeah.
You guys have had a very busy day. You guys have. So we started off with kind of a tour of the facilities, introduce you guys around the team. So technically, this is the first Friday of the month, but we're having our final Friday meeting, which just means that all hands are here and everybody's accessible. So we introduced you guys around, kind of showed you what Ozark Fence is and who works here, and I split off into some smaller groups. And you guys spent a lot of time with Sarah talking about Job Nimbus and communications a little bit. And then your field guys have spent some time with our field guys and fabricators with fabricators, that sort of thing. How do you think it's going?
It's going really good. I think the perspective of what we were expecting or what our shortfalls are of what we thought versus, really digging in with Sarah. I think it's really pretty much the same, just
Good.
tweaks here and there, communications between the crews, but it's all about perspective.
Well, and one thing we talked about at dinner last night was how interesting it is sometimes to pull back the curtain and realize that, a company that you think is really buttoned up and headed the right direction, once you get inside, you go, oh, okay. So they're facing pretty similar things to what we're facing.
Yeah.
Right. And this is something I've talked about before. Like the guys you think really have it together, you pull back the curtain, you look in, you're like, oh, it's held together with bubble gum and duct tape,
Right.
And everyone's working on a fix. We spent some time talking about that today too, that about how some people face frustrations because they think they're going to get to a certain point where everything just works. And what they realize is it should be a continual state of improvement.
Yeah.
So, Bo, let's talk about what maybe your expectations were coming into it. What do you think this was going to be?
The expectations are pretty much met. I was hoping I was actually impressed. I was really hoping to sit down be able to split with the crews, go to who they want to talk to, and really kind of dig in and learn the workflows from every side. So our fabricator got to work with your fabricator, saw some tools that he's really asking for now.
Nice.
Just
Good.
tips and tricks of how to do it efficiently, explaining some of the shortcomings he's having. And your guys like, oh, actually, we have that too. It's no different.
Right. Well, I thought that might be the case when we were talking last night about some things you were hoping to take away. I was like, okay, this is going to be good because I think it's good to see that different companies face the same problems. And it's kind of interesting to see different solutions to similar problems too. to say, okay, so we've got that same problem. Here's how we tackle it. Now, it might not be exactly the same way that you guys end up tackling it, but hopefully you guys can have some takeaways that help you tackle those problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Let's say hello to a few folks here. Let us know you're here by saying hello in the comments below. Before we even got started, Project Metal Music was here. Hello, Project Metal Music. Good evening to you. He's based in the UK, several hours ahead. Ball till we fall 82. Got to do some yard work, so hopefully I'll catch you later on. Just stop by to show some early love. Thank you so much. Dan Wheeler's here. Hashtag Fence Fam. You guys know Dan Wheeler. He's the host of used to be the first and only podcast for the fencing industry. Not anymore. No, but he can still claim he's the first. that is a good claim, but not the only one anymore. There's a few others, including this. So if you guys are listening to this on podcast, this is actually a recorded version of a live we held recently. You can always watch us live by going to youtube.com/Joe Everest. Dan, I appreciate you twisting my arm and making me do podcasts. It's something I'm really enjoying for sure. Goes on to say, good afternoon, fellas. Good afternoon, Dan. AJ Rural says, morning, mate. Is the competition open to Aussies? AJ, I think technically we say continental United States. I think it would be the logistics of that would be a bit more difficult than coming over from Colorado, probably. But all that being said, good morning tomorrow. So he's in Australia. It's tomorrow there.
Is it?
It is. So we should ask him for like stock tips or something.
Yeah.
Because it's tomorrow. So if we lock it in now, maybe. I think we just caught on to something.
Right.
We might have just figured it out. So AJ, let us know what the stock market's doing tomorrow. Well, it's Saturday there. So anyway. Okay. Eric Taylor's here. Shout out to Shipland, #1 in shipping. If you guys have watched the Week in the Life videos, you know exactly who this is. Eric, welcome to the show. #1 in shipping. He's definitely the #1 in shipping here. The shipping department here is the #1 in shipping at this location for sure. Christopher Winchell says, greetings from Fairland, California, San Francisco Bay Area. Christopher, welcome. Appreciate you joining in. Braden's got a fair point. Eric, shouldn't you be working? That's a very fair point. Matt's here, says, front range fence rocks. Today's been great. You guys have a great group of guys. I absolutely agree. I really like your guys. You never know what to on our end. You never know what to expect because you're bringing in new guys that you've never really met. We talked a little bit via the video call, but you never really know. I've been blown away by your guys too, and just everyone works as a cohesive unit. It seems like the conversations. There's a few that'll finish each other's sentences, which is a good thing to see, and just the questions they've had, I've been pretty impressed by too. You can tell this isn't really like a I don't know what you call it, a joy trip or just like a vacation trip or something like that. They're actually here to figure stuff out. Yeah. I'm really pleasantly surprised. You got a good crew.
I'm excited too. And, I was nervous about some of them, really interacting and asking questions, and it started off quiet, but as the day's gone on, the quiet ones have really started asking more and more questions, and hoping that culture that we could share with you guys today we can bring back with us.
Well, absolutely. And we talked about this last night in that we get just as much out of it as you guys do by being the ones to kind of explain and to show. And you guys have different perspectives. So like I say, we face some of the same issues, right? And so we kind of get just as much out of this as you do. So we were we actually learned something new about Job Nimbus today. We actually learned about material orders in Job Nimbus. And so that's something that we wouldn't have known had you guys not shown up and kind of said, wait a minute. Well, so you guys do work orders, but you don't do material orders. And we said, well, what's a material order? And then sure enough, Sarah went into the settings and there it is as an option. So now we're going to figure out what material order flows look like. But no, I appreciate you guys coming out. It's been really good.
I appreciate you having us.
So we did small groups this morning. We broke for lunch. We had some fajitas from a local joint next town over in Republic. I think that was pretty good. It was our first time with them. I think it's pretty good.
It's fantastic.
And then, so today was Kai's birthday. If you guys know Kai Turpin, you should tell him happy birthday. Today is his 23rd birthday. So he brought birthday cake. Yep. So we had some birthday cake afterwards. We opened it up for a table discussion during lunch, just kind of free questions sort of thing, asking anybody anything. And I thought that was pretty productive as well.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, here we are. So we're back into small teams again. So your guys are kind of probably mixing it up a little bit. As I'd like to see different guys with different groups of guys interacting. It seems like they picked that up right after lunch. So I'm really jazzed to see this going. I really am.
Me too.
So let's talk about your guys' business, about Front Range. You said you've been in business 6 years. How'd you guys come about being in business?
Most of us are actually lifelong friends. We went to high school and even elementary, middle school with some of these guys. So really good friends. Sometimes hard to work with friends like that.
Sure.
But most of us actually started in the tower industry, working for building Sprinter towers for Verizon and T-Mobile.
Okay.
Time went on, you start having kids and you're missing your kids growing up. So
Sure.
First child traveled most of his first year and a half. As soon as we got pregnant with our second child, I was like, I don't want to miss it again. So had a bad day at work one day out of town, or argument with the boss. And I was like, you know what, this is it.
Yeah.
So I put in my 2 weeks, ended up staying 4 weeks to help them get through some projects. Okay. But in that time started doing some landscaping on the side, some fencing work. Kind of stuck to landscape for the first little bit. Like I said, started doing a couple fences and really kind of found a niche because I was by myself for almost 2 years.
Okay. So you're kind of the solo owner operator for several years.
Yep. I'd hire some people here and there off of Facebook or Craigslist, something like that. But majority, it was me most of the time for about a year and a half, 2 years almost.
So where did the crew members start coming in? When did you start bringing them in?
First ones were like the two best friends. Ones went to high school with. So one of them was out of a job at a time, had him come out on weekends, help out. He was doing I think Uber Eats, for a little while.
Yeah.
So he came out on the weekends to kind of help out with that and liked it, and hired him on. And I had him for about a year. So in the third year, I hired my second buddy on, who was at another landscape company.
Okay.
And from there, we've been able to really just kind of grow and start bringing people on to the 7 we're at now.
Nice. So, Bo, would you say your experience in tower building and kind of in that corporate type construction environment has helped you in your business today?
I think tremendously. The amount of skills that we learned in there of everything, fabricating, every tower's got a fence.
Sure.
They've got foundations, rebar work, electrical work. It all ties into gate installs and, pouring concrete. Oh, if we have a big cantilever gate, well, maybe we should put some rebar in here to help reinforce, make sure nothing's moving. Just all those little things that some people don't seem natural to. It came more natural to us because we've seen a wide variety of projects all over the country. I mean, we traveled this whole region.
Well, and so that background really lent itself to building fences.
Yeah, 100%.
And probably, did you guys take away? We had a good conversation last night about standard operating procedures and about. I'm guessing you guys kind of took that away as well, of just the need for standard operating procedures.
Yep, and it's probably where I've learned a lot. Where if I could go back to me working for another company, I'd be a totally different animal.
Sure.
Because I ran my own crew there too, so it's kind of on my side and felt more like I've kind of run that part of the company. I mean,
sure.
Free range, it was all organized by me. When it came into running my own business, I realized how those shortcomings of, go mindsets. Don't worry about that. Kind of cutting corners here and there, how that really quick can bite you in the butt.
Sure. You tend, once you start owning a business, you tend to start looking at the long term a lot more.
Yeah. You hang a gate and it sags a little bit. And say, that should be okay. 2 weeks later, the gate's rubbing.
You got to go back.
Just all those little things that just builds up over time to where, it's standard operating procedure now.
Yeah. To say, take the extra time, fix it right before you leave and save yourself a call back.
Pre-drilling. If that your picket cracks putting the gate on, just stop what you're doing, replace the picket.
Yep. Save yourself some time.
Oh,
absolutely. It's not going to get better. Yeah. I've never seen like a self-healing picket before. Right. So it's not getting any better. Replace it while you're there.
So we're always still learning through that. There's it never ends, but we looking back, we've come a really far way to where we are now, even though right now it feels like we're still just beginning.
I don't know that you ever really shake that feeling. We talked about that too, about the fact that you're always growing. You're always looking at your next step. And I think it's important at some points to kind of stop and turn around and look at where you've come to. Yeah. I think it's easy to get lost in kind of that foresight into looking into the future, and you can get really focused on that and lose track of where you came from.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's important. But like I say, you never really lose that, though. I still view this as kind of my dad's company that I had bought, and we're still trying to figure it out. When in reality, we've done a bit of growing since then.
Absolutely.
But we've got a ways to go. Like I said, I don't think that ever leaves you. Competing podcasts on the show. My Fence Life is here. It says Joe, the fence expert. And it says, My Fence Life says, hey, everyone, use promo code MFL15 to get 15% off at ozfence.store and free shipping on orders over $150. Bingo. They absolutely nailed it. That's right. So the Fence Industry Podcast and My Fence Life have a duel of sorts, a competition between podcasts to see, who has the I'm not gonna say the better show. I don't want to wade into that. Those two have enough going on between themselves. They don't need me involved in that.
I've got to say, I love your podcast, but you got a lot to do to keep up with Dan.
You're not kidding.
He exhausts me. Listening to his operations talk that make me feel like I'm not doing enough operations.
Right.
But he's in the field installing.
Yeah. That's it. You're absolutely right. Like listening to it just about what all he goes through. Yeah, you're right. It'll absolutely wear you out. I don't know how someone has that much time in the day.
Yeah.
But you're right. We are not striving. We're going to let those two duke it out for a while. By all means, like we'll wade into the kiddie pool version of the podcast and let those two duke it out in the deep end. Project Mail Music says, sorry, Joe, I have to bail early. I have an interview to set up. Project Mail Music, get with it. You betcha. Hope you have a great evening. Austin Monk says, hi, Bo.
One of my
you know this fella?
I do. He's outside right now.
Austin is here. Okay, all right. So he's with the other guys that are slacking off watching the show.
Probably.
Oh, good,
yeah.
good. They're having a watch party out there, I bet.
Yeah.
We'll call it camaraderie, like team building, and then it makes sense.
Right.
So, Bo, tell me about. So you asked me at lunch our 5 and 10 year goals, which are always kind of a moving target. Where do you see you guys in 5 or 10 years? Where would you like to see yourselves?
I've got a lot of goals in the head. I've never been one about writing them down.
Sure.
But our next step we've been talking about for a couple of years is really supply for contractors and residential and getting more into fabrication, which we are.
Okay.
Just kind of the typical trio of install, fabrication, and retail.
Yeah.
Because it all runs together.
They're all hand in hand.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. So we've been doing retail for quite a while. We just started kind of tiptoeing into wholesale recently, but you're right in that. I mean, you're going to have the material anyway.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we learned early on. So we're one of the few companies. I don't say one of the only. There's a couple other companies in town that do sell retail. But of all the companies in Springfield that build fence, I think there's 3 of us that sell retail materials. There's actually one of the fencing contractors in town has a sign on their door that says they do not sell to the public. They do not sell to fence companies.
Really?
Like, why?
Yeah.
Like in business, the reason you bought the material that's sitting on your lot is you're hoping to sell it for more money than you bought it for.
Yep.
It doesn't matter to me who I sell it to. I could sell it to you. I could sell it to my competitor. I could sell it to a homeowner. It does not matter.
Yeah.
To me. I bought this for X price. I want to sell it for X plus so on %.
Yep, and get it in and out as fast as possible because you want that cash back off the investment.
Bingo.
So that's where we're just trying to get into inventory. So we're building up stock and buying more. If we need, 200 pickets, we're going to go buy a unit of pickets.
Perfect.
But we don't do retail yet, so we're starting to realize that we have a burn rate of pickets sitting in the yard for warping, twisting, and fading because we're not turning them fast enough.
Lumber is a fickle thing to inventory. It really is. Yeah. That's why you see a lot of steel here. You see a lot of galvanized steel because it can sit on the lot for a little while and it'll be okay. But no, I mean, I think what you're saying is exactly how we got into retail is, if we had a project that called for 50 tension bands, well, we'd order a bag of 250 or, whatever they came in at the time. Easy way to get into it. Right. And because you're also that project's going to help cover the cost of that inventory too. And then you have it available to sell. Yep. And maybe you can sell those for a little bit more money too. I think you're on the right track because it's a lot of homeowners don't want big box store quality, right? They want professional quality. I hesitate to call it contractor grade because I feel like that term's been run through the mud and no one really knows what contractor grade means, but a professional level of quality.
Yeah.
Something that you would go in, install, and put your name on.
Yeah.
That's really what a lot of these homeowners are looking for is quality material, and you might not find that at big box stores.
You know, it's that you were saying earlier. It's one of, say, 6 fences for us this week, but it's
Sure.
that customer's only fence for the next 20 plus years.
It's the biggest fence project they have going.
Yeah. You know, and I think it's important I really enjoyed that. It's really important to keep that in mind while you're thinking about that job and Thursday's job and Monday's job, but that customer is only thinking about that fence.
Absolutely. And so we were having that conversation at lunch when we were giving shout outs because we had 2 really good letters over this past month come in with payments and basically saying that, you know, they appreciated how well they're taken care of and they appreciated the service and they appreciated the guys and that sort of thing. And one of them was a 5-figure job and one of them was a 4-figure job. In the 4-figure, so it was a couple $1,000s and something around $20,000, right? So, but that level of service impressed both of them equally.
Yeah.
And I think that was what I was trying to hit home at is we did it right because the $2,000 project felt like they were taking just as good care of as the $20,000 project.
Yeah.
Really, I think that's what we have to strive for.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to feel treated less than, right? So no one wants to, sometimes people will justify it to themselves, like, listen, I know this isn't a very big project. I know this and that, but it is the biggest thing they have going. No one wants to be treated like that.
So we'll go through, sometimes we try to avoid those smaller projects,
Sure.
you know, because you have a certain cost of getting those crew out every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are the most meaningful. You got 2 fence panels that go down in a windstorm. It's really important for those customers to get those back up
Absolutely.
as soon as possible. You know, what will it really take you to pull the guys off a job earlier? You know, just to go get those up, and that's where you get those reviews. And really, you know, it's caring about the customer.
Absolutely.
The small things, and sometimes those jobs you even make more money on.
Sure.
You know?
Well, I was going to say
you have to do it a premium because you have a set cost of going out there.
Well, that's it. Is you have a set minimum.
Yeah.
And so, and we do too. And if we're coming out there to replace a post, it is at the set minimum. And usually the conversation goes something like, I absolutely understand that this number is not going to resonate with this project. I absolutely understand that. But we do have a cost, like you said, associated with rolling a truck, a trailer, a piece of equipment, and 3 guys out the gate. Now, I absolutely understand that your project might not require the equipment to come off the truck or anything like that, or the 3 guys, but we're typically pairing this with more jobs. So all of those have to go. There's just a minimum cost of rolling that equipment.
Yeah.
I understand that it may not seem worth it to pay, you know, $1,000 to have a post replaced. I agree. I absolutely agree. But that's the cost of doing the business.
Yeah.
That is the minimum cost.
Yeah.
And to your point, we would make a little bit more money on that project.
And what we found customers have really liked is, you know, it stands out a little bit. They'll ask us we've got 1 post that's out. It's like, well, that 1 post will cost this. 3 posts will also cost that.
Right.
You know?
Bingo.
This post costs X amount. We can do up to this amount for our base cost to come out.
For the same
And they
fee.
wanted 1 post. And I was like, pick out 2 more posts that you would like replaced.
Perfect.
Same price. You know,
I like that.
That is, we found that, like, I mean, you talk about a happy customer.
Well, and really, you're kind of uncovering some hidden value for them.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of just having that one, now they're going to pay the same amount of money either way. But now they've just found basically 2 free posts.
Yeah. And you're going to be the first one they call next time their fence goes down.
I am taking notes. I like that a lot. But no, that's the thing. But to that person, that is an incredibly important job.
It is.
To these 2 people, to the 2,000 and 20,000, they were both trying to keep dogs in. And the dogs were precious to them, right? And their worst nightmare is the dogs got away and either ran away or maybe got caught up in traffic, whatever. So the project was equally important to both of them. And I think it would be too easy to slip into why are we focusing on $2,000 projects when we could be focusing on $20,000 projects? Well, because they're both important.
Yeah.
They're both incredibly important to those people. And when you treat them right in that situation, you end up getting letters in the mail with their payments, thanking you and telling you to tell the guys thank you for them.
Yep. You want a lifelong customer most of the time.
Bingo. And right now, you know, in this day and age, with social media and technology, you've also got a cheerleader for you out there in social media now. Yeah. I mean, you've got to think that if either of these two people saw a question in like a Facebook group, hey, who builds fence in so-and-so? You got to think they're going to suggest Ozark Fence, which is more valuable than that same person. So that person seeing the recommendation is more valuable than them seeing one of our advertisements. Yeah. Right. That so-and-so had said that we did a great job for them. We took great care of them. We made them feel important, that sort of thing. You got to think that resonates a little bit more than the Facebook video of me telling everybody about Ozark Fence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see who is in the chat. Guys, if you're joining us, leave a comment in the comments below. If you got a question, a fence-related question, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. We're going to be here for roughly about another half hour. Todd M says, question, perfect. I have wanted to ask for some time, but missed all the other live streams. But do you call to have underground lines marked before you dig at projects?
Absolutely.
Mandatory.
We have horror stories.
Yeah. We have horror stories of when we do call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much less, if you didn't call, there's no telling what would happen.
Yeah.
Now, in most states, and likely in all states, it's required by law. Yeah. If you're digging, you have to call. In Missouri, obviously, it's Missouri 1 call. Is it Colorado 1 call?
It's 811.
811.
Yep.
So 811, actually, you can hit that number from anywhere in the United States, and it automatically dials you in. Yeah. Or what they used to call it here, they used to call it Missouri call before you dig. And that was a bit of a mouthful. So then they're like, oh, what about Missouri 1 call? But yeah, 811 from anywhere. I want to say it's anywhere in North America, because I used to say anywhere in the United States, and then a friend up north chimed in the comments, said, no, also here in Canada.
Really?
So if you ever find yourself in like Alberta, you can just dial 811 and you get the utilities. I don't know why you would find yourself in Alberta building fence.
You never know.
I'm sure Alberta is beautiful. We're going to get a lot of comments from those folks in Alberta now, but I'm sure it's a beautiful place. But yes, we always call to have underground lines marked, because typically we're building a fence, if it's a residential fence, well, even commercial fence, pretty near the boundary line. Yeah. Whether it's between neighbors or between businesses. No one really wants to lose land. Now, the whole lose land thing's an old discussion. You don't really lose the land anymore. But either way, no one wants to sacrifice land. But that's typically where the utilities go too, is they typically have some sort of setback from the property line for utility installations.
In Denver and Colorado, a lot of it is on the property line.
Yeah.
And there is sometimes we're on top of markings with just very lightly digging, because there's that customer loses 2 feet to bring it in.
Right.
It's something you got to deal with. And
so
yes, you always call before you dig.
You have to, because a lot of times, like here, you'll find gas in some pretty goofy places. Like you think you got it figured out. You see the gas meter, you're like, oh, during the initial consult, you're like, okay, so it probably goes here in Springfield. It always goes to the front. So our gas does. It's all right. So it probably like 90s over here and heads to the street. And then you find it like in some sort of wacky place. What is gas doing here? Well, during the development, something weird happened, and who knows?
Yep. And private utilities too. Somebody put a barn out back and decided to run a gas line to it, because they don't locate that, and that's something you got to be aware of.
Right.
And we have found them the hard way.
Well, so what they'll say is they'll locate to the meter.
Yep.
After the meter, it's the homeowner's responsibility. It's their utility.
Yep.
So and you're not going to put a line in before the meter. Obviously, it's going to come in after the meter, whether it's gas, water, electric. We found some hidden electric before, and that, you want to talk about not fun. That is absolutely not enjoyable. Yeah. I mean, gas, everyone's really concerned about hitting gas. It's not, I don't want to minimize this. I'm sure it is very dangerous. However, I heard this so we hit a gas line once when I was a kid, when I was on a set crew. And I'm telling you what, I don't know about Colorado, but in Missouri, if you hit a gas line, you get to see all the emergency responders. Like, they all show up. Yeah. It was police blocked off the road. The ambulance showed up for some reason. Fire trucks were there also shutting down the road. And the gas guy just kind of like saunters up. He's like, hit something? Yeah, it is. Like, we got to fix it before this whole place goes. He's like, no, kid, listen. He goes, as soon as it hits the atmosphere, as soon as it gets out, it's done. You'd have to have a cigarette or a lighter right on top of that pipe. There's no way this is like, well, you want to tell everybody else that? Because they all think this neighborhood's getting ready to blow up. Right. They've got this whole place shut down. Like, yeah, it's kind of like a standard thing. If you say gas line, they roll all the emergency responders. Right. So anyway, but I would argue that electricity is more dangerous than hitting gas.
Yeah. I say we haven't hit an electrical line, but we hit some low voltage out to sheds and barns
Okay.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Our worst one was a 100 pair telco line that we hit in an apartment complex that was not located, and it was a project that was behind schedule, and it took more than 30 days. And in Colorado, I'm sure out here your locates are good for 30 days.
Yeah.
We had a couple holes to dig on the last day, and we hit it on the 32nd day.
Dang.
We got fined.
I was gonna say you got stuck with it, huh?
We even did a little attorney, and we lost.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? If you'd done it on the 29th day, would have been covered.
Yep. No problem at all. But
So
it's one of those you learn now. Somebody didn't think about like.
Yeah. 29 days you
it's
relocate
all marked.
it.
You know where it's at, but now it's if you were on a job for longer, we have to renew the locate call.
Absolutely. Well, and because it's free, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't cost to renew. It doesn't cost to call in the beginning either. So it's really a matter of time cost. And now with the online portals the way they are, it's a 2-minute deal.
Yeah.
Especially once you've already got your ticket, you can just plug in your ticket number, press relocate, it does everything for you.
Yep.
We've got a similar story. So this was back when I was a teenager. So, all right, listen, I haven't been a teenager in a while, so it's been a little bit, but this is when fiber optic was like new. So they were running fiber optic for trunk line communication, but not to houses. Well, so we were doing the fence over by the interstate. There's a highway, I don't know, a freeway that separates the center city from the south side of town. And we called in all the locates. We called in a pre-bid meeting because this is a pretty big project. So Dad wanted to make sure everyone knew everywhere we were going to be digging. And the fiber optic folks didn't show up. They said, no, we're not in conflict. And so my dad emailed them, said, just to clarify, here's the site map. Here's where we're digging. Want to confirm you don't have anything in the vicinity. Nope, property is clear. Okay. Well, you want to guess what we found on hole number 2 or 3 with a Bobcat? We found fiber optic that's probably, I don't know, it's about as big as my wrist, but it was good sized. And it's one of those things, like it felt like you got doused in cold water. Like your blood ran cold. When you see that dug out, you're like, oh God.
Yeah. There's always those little ones you hit like, oh, we're good. We can do that. Just a coax cable.
Right.
You get in a hole where you have a crew sends you a picture of a bunch of cables. You're like,
yeah.
Oh man.
Well, this one, like the auger did the wound down. Like, oh, that's weird. They pulled it up and it was spiraled in there. Like, oh no, this is not going to be okay. So we called it in, and the local cable provider, they sent out like 10 trucks or something. This is before you could splice it, so they had to run new line from junction to junction. And this guy was the guy that he wanted to talk to whoever's in charge. And well, how can I help? He goes, yeah, how do you know? He goes, someone's going to pay for this. He said, each man here is $1,000 an hour. And we got to run all this. He goes, this is going to be $50,000, $60,000. And this is, $60,000, something like 15 years ago or something. Like it was, I mean, not that that's not big money now, but that was really big money then. And so, of course, I immediately just freaked out and called my dad. Like, you better get over here. There's a guy, and he's saying that we're like going to lose the company or something.
We're out of business tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we got to go find something else to do, I guess. I don't know. So he came over with the emails and said, right here, here's the locate send back, the submittal send back that you say clear, no conflict. Here's an email of me asking for clarification, and you say the whole property's clear, no conflict. He goes, I agree. Somebody's going to pay for this. Not going to be me. Then they did send us like a $55,000 bill, and of course, which we promptly sent back and told them to send it to somebody else, and with all that documentation. But and that happens when you do have lines located. If we hadn't have submitted that, even if we would have been paying, well, the insurance company probably would have been paying $55,000.
Absolutely.
And that's something that'll absolutely sink you. Oh. Absolutely. I tell that story when I'm talking about insurance too. You talk to guys that start out as owner operators, like, on the weekends or evenings, and insurance isn't on the front of their minds. They're just, I just do a few projects now and then. That project, $55,000 would have sunk us if we hadn't had proper insurance, right? And if we were just starting out, especially. So the story is important for a few different reasons. But to answer Todd's question, yes, you always call in your locates for sure. And now, so since then, there's a stipulation now where if you suspect the utility has not responded, you have to resubmit the ticket, and then they have like 24 hours to respond or something. We had that come up because a gas company said marked a project clear, no conflict. So that's weird because I distinctly remember seeing a gas meter on the side of the house. So we resubmitted it. They came back again. They're like, nope, clear, no conflict. Okay. The gas meter's abandoned apparently, right? Like that never happens. But so I don't know. Be careful. Todd M says another question: 1 bag or 2 bags of post fix, or does it depend on the fence height or the depth of the post? Yes. Yes, it does. So 1 bag, 2 bags post fix. So I'm guessing we're talking about like a pre-bag. We were talking about quick set, or not quick set, but quick read earlier, like a pre-bag. So Todd, I guess the first question would be: are we talking about 60 pound or 80 pound? So we typically have used 80 pound in the past. Now during the pandemic craziness, 80 pound became harder to find. So 60 pound is what we use now. So we would use a bag and a half a hole thereabouts. Where are you guys?
Yeah, we calculate our materials at about a bag and a half a hole. So just
60 pound or 80 pounds?
Yeah, 60 pounds.
Yep, perfect. These are 8 pounds. That's a heck of a post.
Yeah, no, and the crew hates you for you give them a pallet of 80s.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. As soon as I told everyone we were going to have to switch to 60s, there was like a collective sigh of relief.
Yeah, they give them nicknames. The guys used to call the big ones Steves and then Steve Juniors. They'd be cursing Steve all day long.
Right. That dang Steve. Good grief. No, so does it depend on the fence height or the depth of the post? It can. Obviously, so a post or a bag and a half would probably be for anything up to 6 foot tall. Then if we go 8 foot tall, the hole's going to get bigger, so it's going to take more concrete to fill it up. So you're probably looking at a 2 bag or a little bit more. Really depends. Really depends on the hole too.
Post diameter.
Yeah, post diameter plays a big role in it. Also, so here we'll pull out pretty good sized chunk rock too. So you might start off with a 6 or 8 inch hole or an 6 or 8 inch auger, but then pry out a couple of good sized rocks, and all of a sudden you've got a pocket in there you got to fill with concrete.
Yeah, no, I mean the crews are kind of doubting the rock you guys had here until they saw that rock auger sitting over there by the trailer.
Yeah,
it looks well used.
We could, yeah, it's not new. It's not new. We could introduce them to some rocks. No, and that's a funny thing is because I absolutely understand Denver is at the foothills of some pretty intense mountain ranges, but so it's funny to talk about rocks here because we don't like what we call mountains. You guys call like low hills.
Yeah.
Listen, you guys have not seen mountains apparently if you're calling that one a mountain. But it's funny to hear like both of us kind of deal in different types of rock.
Yeah. See, we would take rock any day over than kind of the eastern Colorado is a really dry old lake bed, sandy.
Okay.
And when it's really dry, I mean, even the auger can't even get through it.
Really?
Full weight of auger and it just spins and it sands your teeth away.
No doubt.
And it can be a real nightmare to get through.
Just really abrasive. Then.
Yep. Just really something about the moisture content out there. It just it destroys your auger teeth to the point they barely dig anymore.
No kidding.
Their center drives, they'll cone them down, and the center drive can't dig down anymore.
Won't push down.
Yeah.
No kidding. That's when you really hope for driving.
Yeah.
You really hope for driving, probably. I wish we could drive here, but you guys are probably in the same boat where the rock content of the soil just doesn't let us drive.
There's places we can. We don't bid any jobs with it just because we don't know what's there.
It's so rarely used.
We've done a couple chain link fence with drivings on an RV park, and it worked out good for there.
I'm jealous of people that do it every day.
Yeah.
I watch the videos of these guys on Facebook, and they just go ting, 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 ting. It's like, oh, it's like a fantasy.
Yeah.
That is not normal. But it must be nice.
Yeah, every region's got its own issues.
Well, so that's kind of the joke, right? Is that you'll say must be nice, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I guess what you think you got problems. We got insert problem here. Everyone deals with their own problems, I guess is what we're saying. AJ Roll says, since the podcast, I have adjusted my pricing to cover a day's pay if the job is only a few hours. Good idea. Or so of work. How do you determine the cost in the example of that post job with 3 people? I think you're spot on. So we wouldn't call a full day. We basically our minimum would be a half day. So even one post sometimes, depending on the job, can turn into half a day.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't think so. And it's always the one where you walk in and you don't even say it anymore, but you might think like, oh, this won't be bad.
Yeah.
Oh, guess what? that post is wrapped up in a tree you can't see, and all this other stuff. You got tree roots and all
you got
sorts of
sprinkler
nonsense.
lines running through it that somebody concrete's been
Right.
replaced 6 times.
Neighbor comes out because they're actually disputing the placement of the fence. You're like, all due respect, this fence is 30 years old. Like, this is not the time to dispute this fence.
Yeah.
Now they're going to argue, get off my property.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not on your property. In Missouri, and this might be, I always preface this now by saying in Missouri because I'm learning that a lot of places are different. So we have the right to repair, to where technically we can be on a neighbor's property to repair a fence, a common fence. So it's right to repair. Good luck explaining that to someone who is dead set that you are trespassing on their property.
Yeah.
And then the police come. So they call the police typically. Then the police come and explain to them that you do have a right to repair and maintain this fence. Now you can't get crazy. You can't go 20 foot on the property, but you can maintain a reasonable proximity to this fence to fix it. Those are the ones that take half a day to do one post.
Yeah.
But AJ, to answer your question, we're at about a half day minimum. Look at that. Roger's here. Roger Bencourt says, howdy, fence fam. I made it. Roger, welcome. Appreciate you. Everyone's favorite, I don't want to say everyone's favorite insurance agent because that's going to make my other insurance agents upset. Joe Robles. Now, Joe's always my biggest supporter on this orange thing. So Joe, I appreciate this. Texted me an orange joke at about midnight last night. I'd like to share it with you guys. I didn't even think he was going to show up, but here you go, Joe. So let's see. When was this? This was last night at about 11 o'clock p.m. So Joe was just up thinking about orange jokes. Why did the orange stop in the middle of the road?
Why is that?
He ran out of juice. Oh, boy. Joe Robles, thank you for that one. Appreciate that for sure.
So say some of the guys I don't think have quite followed you. We were coming in last night and they're like, oh, how do you know which guy it is? It's like, I promise you it's the only guy in the restaurant in orange.
Right. Pretty easy to find. I think we'll identify him. Yeah. That's so I was talking yesterday with the Under Pressure podcast. We were recording an episode talking about color branding and just how powerful it is. Because to your point, you knew just because I consistently always wear orange, you knew I'd be wearing orange.
Yeah.
Right. So if I sometimes wore orange, sometimes black, sometimes blue, like, I'll know him when I see him, that sort of thing. But consistently show up wearing orange. Now, it could be any color. It could be green, right? It could be, whatever that lime green safety color is. And you would have known. Like, well, we're going to look for a guy in lime green. He'll be there. Yeah. I think that it talks to the power of consistency and branding in general. My favorite kind of branding is color branding, though.
Yeah.
Kind of like it.
Yeah, we've kind of copied. We kind of went with yellow. So these are kind of our nicer shirts, but our infield crews have kind of the flex fit, hot weather, long sleeve, bright yellow shirts on. So that's what they all wear now.
So a buddy of mine here in town, their family's company color branded yellow, their previous generation. And it is because the highest contrasting color combination is white background with black letters. It'll stand out the most. Second is yellow background, black letters. Yeah. It's the second highest contrast. So they were thinking, now, like I said, this was the previous generation, so this was years ago. If they had a big yellow truck with their name and letters in black, it would stand out for, blocks to come. Yep. And sure enough, like their jingle literally is like the big yellow truck will let you know we're there, DeLong Plumbing, Heating, and Air. That one was for free. Yep. But everyone knows it, right? And they play into that too. We like orange just for a few reasons. One, it's a good safety color. So, we're high visibility by default. Two, you got orange trucks running around all over town. I'll tell you a story. So one time I was at the welding supply store getting more welding gas, and a guy pulls up in a pretty slick looking orange dually and comes over. He says, "Hey, you got any business cards?" "Oh, yeah, sure do." So go get him some, hand them over to him. Said, "You thinking about a fence?" He goes, "No." He goes, "But every time I stop for fuel, people are asking me for your business cards. So I figured I'd pick some up." He said, "I saw you here, so I figured I'd stop by and get some." No kidding. Like, yeah, I got some more. Hang on, I got a box. I'll just give you my box of them.
Right.
But people saw an orange truck and assumed it was us. No letters, no anything like that. The guy just thought it was a cool color.
It's powerful.
It is. Absolutely.
You guys in the orange and then Sean Keane with blue.
Blue.
It's very powerful branding.
Blue's okay. Like it's all right. I mean, they'll probably tell you like it's regal and it's royal, but it's okay. I think everyone wears blue. Lots of people wear blue. Todd says, "Thank you for answering these questions. Greatly appreciated." Todd, that's why we're here. I mean, this is a live Q&A, and now you got two opinions instead of just mine, so you get two for the price of none because this Q&A is for free. Fellow Joe is here. Actually, I guess Joe Robles technically was the first fellow Joe. This is the secondary fellow Joe. Howdy from Southeast Texas. Hello, Joe in Southeast Texas. Finally made it, but I have to leave early. Perfectly fine. So don't take too long to post the replay. Thanks. Well, good news, Joe. Post immediately. As soon as we're done, well, maybe not immediately. It might be like 10 minutes later. I don't know. But that's a YouTube thing. That's not a us thing. Like, as far as we're concerned, it goes out immediately. Jordan Norcross, what is up, Jordan? He finally has a legit fence question. I am certainly glad because all these illegitimate fence questions have really got on my nerves, Jordan. My 6-foot gate keeps being pushed by the wind and now has made a line in the dirt. New house. It's eroded where the fence stop is, if that makes sense. What should I do? I wish Ozark Fence was in Kansas City. I thought about cutting a PVC pipe and putting it in the ground so that the fence stop would go into it instead of pushing the other dirt further back. There's a lot there.
There is. I'm trying to envision it.
So I think what we're talking about is a drop rod. So it doesn't sound like they installed a drop rod keeper because he said he thought about cutting a piece of PVC pipe, putting it in the ground so the fence stop would go into it instead of pushing the other dirt further back. Sounds like that's exactly what he means. So what we do is we've got a bunch of pipe scrap here. So we would typically take a piece of 1 3/8 with a swedged end if we had it. Something like, I don't know, 6-8 inches long, something like that, drive it down. Typically we would drive it, pull it out, clear the dirt, put it back in. What's your guys' process for drop rod?
Same thing. We do about 1.5 inches. We try to keep it so that the drop rod itself isn't taking the wind load because we've had it. If you put too small of a pipe in and it's the drop rod itself is holding the gate, not the latch, it pops the drop rod loose in the 2x4.
Yep, that makes sense.
About 1.5 inches, then the actual latch of the gate is holding the wind load versus it's just kind of
instead of the drop rod.
But usually we drive them down and clean them out, or we'll dig down and put a little concrete around it if it's something really heavy. And let it sit with the concrete around it.
Nice. So Jordan, that's what I would do. But also, it sounds. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. 6-foot gate keeps getting pushed by the wind, and now has made a line in the dirt. So also, it sounds like maybe your drop rod is dragging the ground. I mean, that's kind of the first visual I had. The ground's eroded where the fence stop is. If it's dragging the ground. So one thing, where did I see that? Well, I think I saw this on TikTok, so it has to be true. A guy I think it was actually Victor Vasquez, VV, was showing a drop rod stop that they install. So when you pull it up, it's just a little finger that drop rod sits on, so it doesn't drag the ground. That was slick.
We've been buying the same ones for years, and we just found out Lowe's actually has the best drop rods.
Is that right?
I mean, they're way nicer than Home Depot's or any ones we get from anywhere else.
Nice.
And they just have the best latching system that holds the rod up.
Holds it up. Yeah. That is a slick feature.
They are nice.
So if yours doesn't have that, Jordan.
Yeah, we get them at Lowe's now.
Yep, there you go. I hope we solved your legitimate question that you finally have. Quit asking me illegitimate fence questions, Jordan. I actually know Jordan. I know Jordan from way back in the day. But the last time I interacted with Jordan was the Real Men Wear Pink campaign. So Radius Perimeter Security says, I think ozfence.com, has the best drop rods. Nathan, they do, but it's actually ozfence.store. But now if you go to ozfence.com, you'll come to the service side that has a link that says buy your material, and that will take you to ozfence.store. But Nathan, absolutely correct. ozfence.store. But, I'll let the Lowe's comment slide. I'm trying to be, fair with the guests here. Don't beat them up too bad. But no, we do sell drop rods. We sell the nationwide ones. They're pretty good. I'll have to show you on the way out.
Yeah, we've been looking at the nationwide website after we've seen you talk about it.
I'm telling you, they do full transparency. Obviously, I'm wearing their gear. They sponsor the show, but they sponsor the show because we've been carrying their materials. We've been using their materials for as long as I can remember. Now, we used to buy them through one of the wholesalers. Now we buy them direct, but it's really well done. is we're going to take a trip out to the Nationwide facility over the winter some point and view the facility, because they have an incredible testing facility where they'll put a gate on, like, so the Cornerstone 2 hinges I was showing you guys earlier, they'll put them on a gate, and they'll just, it opens and shuts a million times, has a million swings. And it's a ticker, tick, 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 and it just all day, all night, open and close, open and close. So they put some pretty good research into this stuff. It's legitimately good equipment. And that's always a conundrum I have with taking on sponsors is, as soon as they come on as a sponsor, all of a sudden the general opinion is, well, that's why Joe likes them, because they're a sponsor of the show. No, they're a sponsor of the show because Joe likes them.
Yeah.
Right? It's because my worst nightmare, Bo, is I tell you, you should use so-and-so hardware. It's good. I love it a lot, but I don't actually. I just say that because they pay me to say that. And then you buy it, you go use it, it falls apart. You're like, this is junk.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He doesn't actually like it. He just said that, right? And now anything else I tell you comes into question. And I'm like, oh, why is he telling me that? Does he have a deal with them too, or does he have a deal with them? Like, what's going on? So that absolutely terrifies me. So,
well, I can confirm that your whole warehouse is full of Nationwide hardware.
There's a lot of it there. There's a lot of it.
If it didn't work, you probably wouldn't use it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And that's the confidence we try to give people is we're going to sell them the same thing that we'll go put out on the trucks. Yeah. There's not two sets of inventory. We've got one set of inventory, and we pull both sides from it. So circling back to the retail comment, that's as retail, that's one of the benefits we give the public, right? And then you guys give the public is that you can help them with any of the questions they have too, because you guys have experience installing it, which your market is similar to ours. You were sharing with me that your particular market doesn't have a lot of the nationwide manufacturers. Nationwide, it's not fair. So the national manufacturers, right? We're 3 hours from any national wholesaler, from any big wholesaler. So really, your choices here are the big box stores. Not saying anything about big people that work at big box stores, but good luck getting specific help on anything, right? I mean, that's go into any of them and ask them what the difference is between, like a CS20 versus CS4 U-Haul. And they could try to look it up for you.
Yeah.
But whereas if someone came in to you or to our office and said, hey, I got this drawing of a fence. I don't know what I need. I know I need fittings, but I don't know which fittings. I don't know the difference between a tension band and a brace band. Could you help me out? Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll just break this thing down like we were going out and installing it. I'll give you the same materials list I would give my guys to go pick, and we'd love to sell it to you, sort of thing.
And it's they're smaller business. You get more interaction with them.
Yeah.
I said, you're a little bit further for your nationwide suppliers. I said,
sure.
We have them in Denver. We're down in Castle Rock. So about a 45-minute drive.
Okay.
When I was talking with Sarah about it, she was asking like, so do you price around to find the lowest? And we really just need to be a shout out. We use Centennial Fence Supply.
Okay.
They're over an hour away from us.
Is that right?
We pretty much buy everything from them because
interesting.
They answer any questions we have. We can shoot them an email of a vinyl fence that we've never seen or built before. Hey, can you guys route this? Can you make this? Do you know who has this?
Sure.
And they are on top of it. They get our crews in and out of their yard faster than any other place in town.
Nice.
So we may pay a premium on some of this stuff there.
Sure.
But it's priceless for the benefits that we get from it. And they treat us like a family. They send us gifts every year. They really express their gratitude for our business. And, you go to some of the big suppliers, you don't get that anymore, especially with the way COVID did everything. And, you have to pull into a parking lot, call, order the stuff, and you have to wait to get let in.
Yeah.
And it really can make that really hard. If you don't have a full yard full of stuff.
Sure.
If a crew's got to go get some stuff, you may lose 2 hours having to go get 3 2x4s.
Well, and see, that's a pain. As much inventory as we have here, we still have a weekly truck that comes down from the suppliers. They're in town anyway, supplying other people, but invariably we need something weird that we just don't have. Last week was 6 5/8 Cox hinges. Don't stock them, so we had to bring them in from the supplier. And it is a bit of a pain because I can remember. And this isn't about anyone in particular, but we used to, you never knew what was going to show up. We would have, on any given Thursday, you'd order a bag of 2.5-inch brace bands. Need some for a job next week. You brought in a bag of them. Well, they sent 2.5-inch tension bands. What am I supposed to do with this? This is not what I need. Well, we'll have one for you next week. We'll make it on that next week. Well, that's not going to make much of a difference. This project that I'm supposed to finish up.
Yeah.
Right. It's a bit of a transaction, and there's less quality control. This is one of the things that we talk about is, I believe, one of the things that this economic reset is going to do is it's going to teach people the value of customer service again.
Yeah.
So you were saying the national wholesalers are 45 minutes away. This person or this company is over an hour away. So you drive further. Sometimes you pay a little bit more, but you honestly feel that the value is correct.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
The built-in value, the cost per item might be a little bit high, but the value per item is spot on.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge takeaway. I really do. For anyone doing well, whether you're on the service side or the sales side, as far as the retail wholesale sales, I think that's important to remember. That customer service right now is kind of a lost art, unfortunately, because we got to a point where there was so much business you didn't have to. And that's dangerous to say. Like, it's not great to talk about, but I think that's kind of the slump some of the national retailers or wholesalers have fallen into, is that there's so much work that if they sell to you or they sell to the person behind you, they don't care either way. They're selling. All they can do is sell what they have, whether you like them or not. That's icing on the cake. But they're here to handle the transactions. I really feel like we've gotten away from customer service.
Yeah.
Like I said in that example. So I'll give you an example. So back when I was a kid, I remember. This is a shout out to a gentleman named Charles Rice, who was our sales. He still continues to be our sales rep for one of the national suppliers. He worked for a different one at the time. But I remember my dad was in a big bind, similar thing. Like we'd ordered brace bands, they sent tension bands, or vice versa. Something got mixed up. So Charles, like they're 3 hours away, said, "I tell you what," he goes, "Do you need them? Do you need them today?" I was like, "No, they're really supposed to be on a job tomorrow." He goes, "I'll have them there tonight." I said, "It's noon." He goes, "Give me a little bit. I need to go get them in the truck and fuel it up. I'm gonna drive them down. You'll have them tonight. That way you can get that job done tomorrow." Fantastic. There's a reason he's still our salesman today. Yeah. Right, our sales rep today. But good luck getting that answer now.
Yeah.
Like I said, the answer is, I'll have them for you either next Thursday. And if you really talk me into it, I might ship them, and then you'll have them in 2 to 3 days. Yeah. I needed the thing I ordered when I ordered it.
You're right.
Right. If I needed it next week, I probably would have ordered it next week. I need it now.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like I said, it seems like customer service is a lost art right now.
But it's getting more important. I feel like people are valuing it more and more.
They're going to have to.
Yeah.
They're going to have to.
And that's the businesses that are winning now are the ones that are providing that.
Absolutely. And I think that's, shameless plug. I think that's one of the things that makes OZ Fence store a little bit different is that you can call us and you do get a professional on the other end of the phone. That, so if you have any of the, who knows how many questions we get in a day about something online, you still get a professional on the other end. Whereas, you deal with some online sites, you don't know who you're going to get. So shameless plug.
It takes a company in the industry to do that. I think what makes Centennial Fence Supply such a great company is they're actually a sub company of a direct competitor of ours.
Okay.
They are an install company that is down in Parker, which is right around where we're at.
Sure.
Wanted to get into retail, didn't have enough space, and leasing space down it's just pretty expensive.
Sure.
So they went all the way up to Brighton and opened up a yard, and they have 15x in 3 or 4 years because it is a fence company selling fence material to fence companies. They know what's important to the fence company.
They know the pain points by default.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's really important. So, ideally in the next 5 years, we'd love to bring that to where we're at.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Especially chain link outside of the 2 big box stores, there's nowhere to get chain link in town outside of Home Depot.
Sure. And that's a shame because the chain link you find at a big box store is not actually what you think it is. Yeah. So typically meaning that the diamonds are a little bit larger. The wire, they'll call it 11.5 gauge. I think that's being generous. Yeah. One of the segments I want to do on the show is to go buy like a 50-foot roll from a big box store and weigh it and then weigh one of our 50-foot rolls. Same thing, 48 inch, 11 and a half, it'll be twist or knuckle. Weigh it and just see and say, that's weird. So they're telling you 50 foot of 11 and a half costs this much, but when you price it out by the pound, now you see a different story.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily cheaper. You're actually getting quite a bit less material in it too. But anyway, not to bash. This feels like a bash on big box stores today, which I'm fine with. But just know that wasn't our intention going into it. Jordan Norcross, you'll remember him as the guy who had a legitimate fence question. Thanks, Joe. Yes, it is a drop rod, but didn't have anything to go into it. Yeah, it's been pushing it back and forth about a foot. I've been stuffing it with my dog's hair. She sheds a lot, and I brush her. You could have left that out, Jordan. I feel like you could just let that straight out of there. Yeah, so get a piece of PVC, 1.5 inches or so. Drive it in with any hammer, mallet, etc. Pull it back out, clear it out. Back in it goes, and I don't know what you're doing with your dogs here. That's not part of the process. AJ says, can you chuck your email address in the notes or something, please? Braden, would you mind chucking that in there?
Yeah, he's on Facebook.
AJ, he's currently chucking it into the Facebook feed. I'm not reading that name. So I have a question. I heard, what? What is this? I heard you guys were homophobic. Can we clear that up? No. Whenever you get done with this convo. Okay. Answer is no. That's not even a question. I don't even know where that came from. So the channel's gotten to a weird point in YouTube where you get some people with just some random questions. There was a guy that tried to make me say something that was not that great the other day. Because he said, he was like, could you say hello to my son? His name is... It was not good. It was not good. But it's one of those names where you look at it and you think it's a legit name, and then you sound it out real quick, and you're like, that would have been bad. I'm glad I didn't do that. So I'm hoping that's not that. Let's just do this. We can.
I didn't even see the first one.
It means you're doing something right, though, when people are targeting and messing with you. It means you're getting noticed.
Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and block that. See ya. All right, AJ. Braden, chuck that straight into the comments. Joe at thefenceexpert.show gets to me directly. Well, Jen, I thought I'd block Jackie. So a question is a question. That's fine. I mean, ask whatever questions you want. But don't say like you heard that, whatever. Okay. Did you not see it? It might have come directly because I blocked her.
No, I couldn't see one of the other things that was said either from that account.
Oh, there was 3 questions total. One of them just said, made an assumption, and then the other one says just whenever done with this combo, and then that one just said a question is a question though. Okay. Anyway, getting this train back on track. Actually, it is 3 o'clock. It's 3:08 actually. So let's do this. Let's give you guys a couple more minutes to drop any questions you may have. Jordan, if you got any illegitimate questions about fence, I'll take those as well. But yeah, so let's give them a few minutes to drop comments in. But what do you think? I know it's hard, for me, it's hard during, the interaction to really have a question or have a conversation about takeaways. What would you think, though, would be some of the takeaways that you guys are taking back with you today?
I think the biggest one, is just perspective. It's human nature, but, whether you're at 200,000, 500, or, 500,000, a million, you always think that it's always greener. You hit this certain step and life is easy and you can sit back and it's going to coast. It's never that.
Right.
At least we haven't gotten there.
Sure.
I know you haven't gotten there either. It's perspective of trying to set goals of where you're going, but also able to look back and see where you've come.
Yeah.
And I think seeing this in person, it really helps that. I think it helps the crew, and why I brought the crew here is I can see this and get the the vision of what I want to do. Sometimes it doesn't come across from me to the crew trying to explain that. And
sure.
Motivation's big, and I really wanted them to see this in person. And then we go back over the next couple months and say, oh, let's implement this. They can directly see what the result of that could be.
Yeah, and they'll know where it has come from.
Yeah. All the timesheets, or we've try to implement things to try to get numbers really narrowed down that can be really hard to get them to do. And this is easier to show. I know it's tedious. It doesn't make sense to you. But, you do this for 15 jobs. It's all the little steps that build you up to where this is and where you go from here.
Well, and it's kind of giving them a sneak peek into the results of doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, guys, we saw it happen. If we follow this system, if we track this numbers, if it's going to seem tedious at first, but you guys saw it yourselves, it could lead us to something, more efficient or something better. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think more importantly than me seeing this was really having my guys see it. I'm really hoping that they really enjoyed it and they can really take some stuff back with it.
I hope they have. I hope you guys feel like you've gotten your value out of this, because I know, like I say, you guys drove a tremendous distance, not only in distance but in time to get here, and you took time away from your business, right? Like, you closed your business down to bring everybody out, and I can appreciate how big of an investment that is.
Yeah,
I really hope when you guys get home, and we guys are talking about this on the way home, that you really truly feel like you got good value for that investment.
I would encourage everybody to apply for the contest. I'd heard about it for a couple months, never applied, and then just one video, I was like, I'll hop online and apply, and it was right before the closing ended. And a couple days later, it's like, you're a runner-up. I'm like, no way, You always hear those contests, you're like, oh, it can never be me. But
right.
You just apply.
Well, and here's the thing too, Bo, is I want to encourage folks out there that if you didn't win, if you haven't been chosen, if you've been putting names, we see some consistent names come through, quarter on quarter. And if your name hasn't been chosen, I really encourage you to resubmit, because we can only have one company here at a time. And in your round, so we had 3, semifinalists, and we did video interviews, and then we made our decision. There were some good guys in there. And now your nice conversation just led me to decide to have you guys out, but that doesn't mean that the other guys, had yours not been in there, I could have easily chosen any of the others.
Yeah, and I think in just honesty, you might want to, in this world, you don't want to seem like you're vulnerable, your business is weak, And I really wanted to express that, like, we're doing okay, but we need help.
Sure.
We need operation help. We need workflow help, and express that to you. And didn't try to, sugarcoat everything.
Right.
And just be kind of vulnerable. Like, we need help. I'd love to talk to you on inventory, on workflow, and learning all of that. I think that is,
it came through.
To you, that is what works.
Yeah, it came through. Yeah, it absolutely. You're right. That is the ticket, is just being open and honest during the application process, because I really think that does come through.
Because you want to come here for help.
Right.
That's why we came here.
And I'll be honest with you, that's one of the things I'm looking for. And I don't know if we're supposed to tell what we're looking for, but here we go. Is really for the people that are legitimately looking for help.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes there'll be some applications that come through that make it pretty clear that they just want to visit.
Yeah.
They just want to come by and see the place and visit Springfield and whatever else. And that's not really what we're trying to do. Right. I'm trying to make a meaningful impact on someone's business long term.
Yeah.
That is the goal. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're trying to, that's also what we're trying to do by implementing the video, the video call as part of the semifinal, is really get a good feel. Like, were the answers to the applications the 100% truth, right? Or is this genuine? Really is what we're trying to figure out.
And part of our interview that you had that I really liked is, I told you, I asked if we could bring the guys and stuff, and we were going over. I was like, yeah, I think bringing everybody would also be great content for you. And you're like, I really don't care about the content. I want to help you guys.
Yes.
And that was, it really clicked in. Like, I think this is going to be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing.
Truly, I just want to help.
Yeah.
It's not about the video or, because you get plenty of cool videos of all the guys out there getting along, going over stuff. You really just want to help the companies that are coming here.
Right. And that is goal one.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we talk about kind of behind the scenes, leading up to these types of events is, let's think about some things we're going to video, but really us filming the content is so that we can put them in a file and offer them to you to access later on. Because, like, I wish, I could have, so I go to this conference called Social Media Marketing World. And after it's done, they give you access to each video of each speaker for each session. Because I'll sit through those and I'll have my notes and I'll have my thoughts, but then I'll rewatch it and I'll hear something totally different, right? Or I'll say, wait a minute, what did I mean when I wrote this down? I'll go back and rewatch it. So that's what we're trying to do with that content. and we'll generally repurpose it into other YouTube contents as well. But you're right in that the goal is to make the most impact in your business possible. And if we can also do some film stuff, then that's icing on the cake. But if all the cameras broke and the YouTube wasn't active and everything else, we'd still end up doing this, right? Like that's our motivation. Our primary motivator is making a difference.
Yeah, I mean, especially Sarah, like the amount of time Sarah sat down answering questions, and David myself, I mean, he was just like a kid in a candy shop digging in, asking questions, going over city documents that we never even thought about using for plot plans.
Sure.
I mean, just tons of help.
She's
right off
a
the bat
powerhouse.
that could change the way we work and help improve.
I'm glad. I really am. She's absolutely a powerhouse. So this morning, we had let the call center know. So the call center generally fields all of the first contact phone calls, and we'd let them know. Said, hey, we've got some folks in from out of town. If anybody asks, the office is closed. Take notes, send them through Slack, and let us know. And if it's an emergency, we can reach out to them. But I really wanted us to really dig in and focus in on being available. Because, like I said, you guys have made a big investment on being here. We should honor that by everyone focusing in on trying to make the biggest impact possible. I really, like I said, I really hope that you guys feel that you got your value. That's one of the things that also terrifies me is anyone were to walk away going, well, that's all right. Like, you know what I mean? I think, oh, no, we can't have that.
No, I'm committed that we can implement stuff and, keep in touch and show you how much it meant, by growth, by showing you in the business how much you've helped us.
Well, I think that's going to be part of this, right? I think we do like a 6-month check-in, right? Or a 12-month check-in. We'll figure out kind of what that looks like. But I think it'd be interesting. It'd be definitely interesting for me and the team, but certainly for those watching at home, probably to see, like I said, maybe a 12-month check-in a year later. How you doing? Were you able to implement things? Do you have questions? Part of this we talked about last night. Part of winning, obviously, the big part is being here. But then the other parts is just having access to me and the team moving forward, to where if any one of your guys, if Range says, hey, Matt was talking about something and I had another question, could you shoot him a message? Absolutely. Let's connect Matt and him together and let's let them sort out whatever it is. So it's not necessarily just the on-site, it's also the ongoing support.
We're really excited and really grateful.
I'm just excited. I really am, because like I say, I have some takeaways from your guys' visit. I'm sure the team. So what I'll do, so actually I'm gone next week, but typically what I do is the Monday after we'll have a little huddle up and say, what's that? What did everybody learn? And typically my team also has a list of things like, what? They asked this question and I didn't have a firm answer. I thought I knew what we were doing with this or with this vision or whatever. I need to figure that out. So you guys are helping us just as much as we help you.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan has an illegitimate question. How are you feeling with Soto teasing the second best team in Missouri, a.k.a. the Cardinals? All right. Oh, by the way, saw some Ozark Fence signs on ESPN Plus when Missouri State was playing. All right. That bullpen is paying off. I'm not answering your question about second best team in Missouri. I'm not doing it. I mean, if you have that much disrespect in the question, I'm not respecting it with an answer. So, Joe said, told you about the resurvey I had to get done because the neighbor disputed the corner pin. I won and he lost. I gained 8 inches of new yard. Isn't that so? Joe had a survey. They built a fence, and then the neighbor said that the survey was wrong. Said that they were actually over on their property. So then Joe had basically told him, said, well, then you get a survey and we'll compare surveys, I guess. I don't know. Sounds like he got 8 inches.
It's amazing how that worked out sometimes. We had an automotive shop that was 2 competing shops right next to each other. And one of them wanted to put off a new fence area to keep their cars in for theft. And the neighbor next door was fighting them up in this fence and saying their property went this far. And they had pretty good documentation of where the actual property line was, and they were just fighting. So they had to bring out a survey, resurvey the whole place. After the survey, they found out that the shop that was disputing, their big light-up post sign was 12 inches too far on the neighbor's property.
Oh, no.
He's like, you either drop this whole fence issue right now, or you have to move your sign.
Or go ahead and move that sign, would you?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
It is amazing some of the disputes you can see with property lines.
A lot of that just really reinforces to me that karma's real.
Yeah.
It really reinforces that. Ruben says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ruben. Last question, legitimate or illegitimate. Jordan says, new YouTube series, Joe on the road, visiting their town and checking in with the fence companies you're helping. I love it. Or visiting their town and checking in. Yeah, I love it. I like that a lot. So this is actually a thought of mine back when I was getting my pilot. I was getting my pilot license. And I got COVID real bad, and so I was on oxygen for a while. And if you're on oxygen, they don't really like you to fly. Yeah. So I hadn't picked it up, but that was one of the thoughts of how I was going to utilize that is by visiting. Doing. So my idea, honestly, was to do this on site and then do like a 6 or 12 month follow up where I come out and say, all right, like what needs fixed now, or like what do you need help implementing now? So one day, that's it. That's in the forecast. Thanks for giving that away, Jordan. Good job. I probably mentioned that to him. He's that kind of guy. I probably mentioned it, and he's like, you know what? I'm really gonna screw up his plans and say it live on YouTube. He didn't, but yeah. Missouri was a little moist and humid as it trucked through it earlier this morning. Ruben, you're not wrong.
It was.
You're not wrong. So. It's like I think it's still flooding up in St. Louis. Bunch of rain up in Kansas City. So southern Missouri, not as much rain now. We still have all the humidity. I mean, you guys are experiencing that right now. I feel bad because it's like I just see them like just sweating it all out. Like these guys are not used to the humidity. I'll be honest, I'm not used to the humidity, and I live here. So anyway, Bo, thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I think we got just as much out of it or more as you guys have. So I appreciate the investment you guys are making.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Guys, if you got any more questions, if you're watching this on replay, drop a comment in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're watching the podcast, they tell me that asking you for a review is great. So if you do that, I would like that a lot. Until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And I'll see you next week.